I watched Suits, and here is what I thought. So if you never heard about Suits, it is a legal drama show, and it is about Harvey Specter, who is one of the best lawyers in New York, and he is looking to hire his own associate. So while he's holding interviews, he meets Mike, and Mike admits that he snuck into this interview to hide from the cops. Mike tells Harvey that he can pass the bar and he can prove it. So when he does prove it to Harvey, he does make an impression on him as well. So Harvey decides to hire Mike even though he has never been to law school. And they decide to keep that secret to themselves. The question is, how long can they keep people from finding out the truth about Mike? And there you go, is a little synopsis. That is where this story begins for this really great show. Now you'll be getting into spoiler territory. So I had heard of Suits when it aired on USA Network, but I had never watched it before. But then I heard about it again when it came out on Netflix, and it blew up. Everyone I knew was watching it. And of course, I had to definitely check it out now. So this show has 9 seasons with about 10 to 17 episodes for each season. So it was the perfect show to binge for a while. So in this kind of recap of the show, I will not be going over each and every season. If you do want to know what I felt about each season, you can go check out my blog or website, and I will link that in the description below. But in this video, I will be talking about the characters and mostly the main cast and which ones I like, which ones I didn't really like, and kind of talking about some things throughout the show that I liked that they did, some things throughout the show what I didn't really love about their characters. And I am not going to be putting them in any particular order. We're just going to be going through some of the main cast and talking about them and how I felt about them throughout the show Suits. Okay, so the first person we'll be talking about is Katrina. So when her character first was introduced, I didn't really love her, but I didn't really hate her either. She was just there. She ended up being on the show a lot longer than I thought she would. And then the more she was on the show, the more I did end up liking her. I enjoyed her relationship with Lewis. I liked that he finally kind of had someone on his team, and I felt like Katrina was the perfect fit for him. I also liked her chemistry with Brian. It was off the charts, guys. It was so good. That one scene when she spritzes the perfume on her wrist and he's sniffing them, I couldn't handle it. And they definitely had sparks of chemistry before this, but that scene really sent me over the edge. It was like their chemistry was just so good on screen. And I was really surprised that I actually wanted them together because I am not a fan of a cheating storyline. And unfortunately, Brian was in a relationship, so he was married with a kid. And no, I didn't want her to break up his marriage, but just their two characters had such great chemistry. I was like, oh, I wish he was single, that we could explore this more. I'm glad that the show didn't do a cheating storyline because I would not have liked that, and I think I would have fallen out of love with their relationship if they continued down that path. But fortunately, they caught themselves and they decided to cut that off immediately and not go any further. So I am glad that the show did that and didn't pursue that relationship. But if they were both single, I would have loved to see where it would have went. One thing I wish we saw more with Katrina was friends. And I think one reason she was so attached to Brian was because he kind of was her only friend there. I feel like a lot of time when we saw Katrina in the show or on screen, she was by herself and she didn't really have a lot of people in her inner circle or a lot of people she could rely on. She was kind of like a lone wolf. Even starting how she came from the firm, she kind of made a deal and she had some enemies in the beginning. Eventually, of course, as the show went on, she had a couple friends, but I really would have loved to seen her have more attachments to other people, more of a bond with some people at the firm. I just felt like she was by herself a lot. Like, of course, she had Lewis, but I felt like Lewis was more as a mentor, and they did consider themselves friends, but I would have loved to seen her, maybe not with Rachel or Donna, but someone equal like that she could vent to or talk to and have like a really good friendship where she could hang out with outside of work. I would have loved to seen that for Katrina. I did like her ending in the show. I definitely think she deserved to have her name in the wall. She really did do a lot for the firm throughout this show. And I feel like sometimes it was overlooked or wasn't appreciated as enough. So I thought that final moment when she got her name on the wall, it was really the whole company saying to her, like, we know what you did, we appreciate, and we've seen what you did, and we want to reward you in this way. So I really did enjoy her ending. Okay, the next characters I want to talk about are Samantha and Alex. Even though they weren't really on the show for a long time, I did like them. I liked the addition that these two characters brought to the show. I kind of wish that they were there a lot sooner and we had more time with them, because I would have loved to have seen what they were like interacting with Jessica more, interacting with Rachel and Mike. I would have loved to see the dynamic between all those characters when Samantha and Alex would have joined the team. So we did see them interact with Mike a little bit when he would come back into the show just for a couple episodes, but I would have loved to see what it was like with dealing with Mike on a daily basis, especially with Samantha. I think they would have butt heads a lot because, of course, Mike's moral compass is so high and Samantha's is not that high. So I would have loved to see how they would have worked together, or maybe not worked so well together in the show. I would have loved to see more of that. They both definitely brought a different energy to the show, and I have seen both of these characters, or the actors who have played them in previous shows, so I was happy to see them come to this show and play as characters on Suits. It was really cool to see. Like, I've seen Katherine Heigl in Grey's Anatomy, and I've seen, I believe his name is Dule Hill on Psych, so it was really cool to see them in this show. And one thing I really like about Samantha was that she was kind of like the female version of Harvey, and I would have loved to see them battle it out more against cases. I think that would have been really cool. So if her character was on the show sooner, I would have loved to see more of that, because I definitely think there would have been some conflict there that would have been great for the show. Again, love the addition of these two characters. I just wish we would have had more of them sooner. I think they were great for the show. Okay, next person I will be talking about is Robert Zane. He was a character I didn't really care too much about in the beginning, because honestly I just didn't think he would be in too many episodes in the future. He is Rachel's father, and Rachel was the main character, but I just assumed her father wouldn't be that much of a main character. He would probably have some recurring roles. But again, since Rachel was the main character, I didn't expect to see too much of him in the future. But I was wrong. As the seasons went on, he was appearing in more and more of the show, and I was surely enjoying his character more and more. He was a no-nonsense person, and he told it like it was. And sometimes I was shocked, because these people, I feel like they didn't expect him sometimes to tell them the truth, but he did. He didn't care. And he became one of the characters that by the end of the show, I wish we got to see more of him. And I liked how we saw his relationship with other powerful lawyers like Jessica. And, there's like little bits and pieces in the show. It talks about how they kind of knew each other from the past, both being lawyers in New York relatively around the same age, growing within the industry together. And they've both been doing it for so long that you kind of make these relationships, whether you scratch my back, I scratch yours. But I really like seeing their interactions together, and even with some other lawyers on their same level. So I wish we had more of that throughout the seasons. I really did like his character, and I would have loved to have seen him added in more scenes. I think that would have been really cool. But again, Robert Zane, really enjoyed his character. Okay, our next character we'll be talking about is Rachel. And I'm sorry to say, but she was my least favorite character. I just did not like her. I tolerated her, but I never really liked her character that much. And one reason that I didn't like her is because of her and Mike and how they got together. Her and Mike kind of started when he was in a relationship with someone else. And that's what bothered me, because Mike had been there for a while and he was not in a relationship at all when he first started the firm. But it was kind of clear that he was attracted to Rachel, but she kind of turned him down. No, we're not going to do this. And she's allowed to do that. She is also allowed to change her mind, but that doesn't mean you need to act on it when that man is in a relationship. So once Mike was in a relationship, it seemed like she was more into him, and that bothered me. And I'm like, you could have been with him before, but you decided to wait till he was in a relationship, and then you acted on your feelings then. And to me, that's a no. But eventually, her and Mike get together. It is what it is. I might not like how they got together, but the show has them together, so it is what it is. But then, seasons later, we come down the line and we find out she was in a relationship with a married man before. And again, everyone makes mistakes, but when we hear that, to me, that's a pattern. When you do it more than once, it's a pattern. That's just my opinion. And I'm like, is this girl attracted to men who are taken? That also irritated me the wrong way. because I was like, I don't like her even more now because they revealed this. So I just really didn't like her and Mike's relationship. And another part of the relationship I didn't like was when she finds out about Mike's secret and that he really isn't a lawyer. He never went to law school. And that was a big thing in their relationship. And it feels like a lot of the arguments and tension within the relationship really circled around that secret and that situation. I do think she has every right to be upset, and she has every right to be worried that this can catch up to them and something could happen. So I do understand and agree that she has these feelings and can be upset about this. But my problem was, if you guys are continuously going to have the same fight about this and like nothing's really getting changed, why are you together? Because it seems like it's a very big deal to you. So that is what annoyed me. Like every time it would come back to this, it's like, there are only so many times I can hear the same argument and not say anything. I was really like, Rachel, just leave him. And honestly, it was the same fight. This really does upset you this much. Maybe this isn't the relationship for you. Maybe this is not the relationship you should be in. Honestly, that was me talking to her. I was like, if you are this upset at this man, maybe this is not the man for you. And I was like, oh my goodness. It was the back and forth that was really annoyed me. There was once when he left and he was doing a job. He's like, I got to do this for us. And I was like, good for you, Mike. But then he came back, and I was just annoyed. If I was Rachel, I would have been annoyed. I don't know how. I know she loves him, but I'm like, Rachel, I don't know how you do it, because I don't know if I could be this strong and save this man after he left and our future was fine and then he comes back. Okay, well, I'm going to stop ranting, but that was one thing that really bothered me. I just didn't love Rachel's character. Her character was just not my favorite. The next character I will talk about is Mike. And honestly, his character also annoyed me too. First, it was his relationship with Rachel, and you know why that bothered me. Just them together annoyed me. Again, didn't like how they got together. I did enjoy Mike and Harvey's relationship. I think it was like a nice brotherly bond that they had, and it was cool to see them interact and work on cases. I really enjoyed that chemistry and relationship between the two of them. One thing about Mike is that he always made decisions based on his morals and more like based on feeling. And the firm he was working at wasn't really always big on emotions and morals. It really was whoever was paying, that is who they were defending. And Mike had a problem with this, which is absolutely fine. But sometimes he caused even more trouble trying to do the right thing. So he is a very intelligent man, very intelligent character. But a lot of times in the show, I really think he thought he just knows everything. And a lot of times that worked for him, and sometimes it worked against him. And again, with how Rachel and Mike's relationship, how it kept going around the same thing over and over again, like they kept having the same fight. I feel like Mike was also having that fight with where he was working. Constantly was like, I hate the work. I hate the work the firm is doing. Like, I don't like that we're doing this type of work. I want to make a change. I want to do good. I want to help people. But he continuously stayed at the firm, which I can understand why, because this would be the only firm that would hire him because they're the only ones that know his secret. He couldn't work at another law firm. But I guess that comes with the price. Like, if you're going to work here, you have to do what we want to do. Eventually, like I mentioned before, he did leave and he went to another job, but he always found a way to come back. And I believe it was twice. He worked at 2 different places and he always made his way back to that firm. And I guess that was one thing that bothered me when he went to work for the nonprofit. I feel like that was a perfect job for him. And I feel like he could have became a lawyer and still continued to do that job. To me, it was the perfect fit. He was still being a lawyer, but he was really helping people, helping the little guy fight the big corporations. And I thought he was perfect for that job. So when he came back to the firm, to me, it did make sense because it felt like a job he would fighting for the firm to be more like. And he came back to a firm where he was going to be doing the same thing he was before. So I did like Mike, but a lot of the decisions he made, his decision making annoyed me a lot. He wasn't my least favorite character. I just didn't love his character all the time. Okay, the next person I'll be talking about is Harvey. I did like Harvey's character. I loved how he was good at his job and he knew it. And let me just tell you, people came from left, right, and center to bring him down. And he always found a way to come back up. He definitely was cocky and he thought he was untouchable, which I also think was his downfall, or one of his weaknesses, I should say. And as I mentioned before, I did like the relationship he had with Mike and how he took on more of a mentor role. And he really did care about Mike. I really liked that. I also enjoyed his relationship with Jessica and how Jessica was kind of his mentor and he was the mentee. But I always felt like they really cared about each other and they were comrades, and how she always looked out for him. Definitely one of Harvey's weaknesses was his confidence, and the reason they were in the predicament was with Mike is because Harvey brought Mike to the firm knowing he wasn't a lawyer, but feeling cocky and confident enough to pull it off. One thing that I disliked the most about Harvey, and this could be just my own interpretation, but I feel like he was kind of a bully to Lewis. Don't get me wrong, Lewis is not without his faults, but I feel like some of the reactions from Lewis are because Harvey was kind of hard on him and how he treated him. And so much really came easy to Harvey, like a lot of the success and how he went up in the company. Also, Harvey got away with a lot. Example, bringing Mike to the firm. So if Lewis had done half the things that Harvey did, he would have been long gone. Sometimes when Lewis was low, Harvey would push him down even lower, and that really bothered me. I just didn't like those scenes. I just wish their frenemy relationship had been more friend than enemy. I do think near the end of the seasons, as we got to the later seasons, we did see that more of a friend than an enemy relationship, and eventually became friends. It just took longer than I wish it had, but I'm glad in the end we did see Lewis and Harvey work more together and develop a genuine friendship. They definitely had a rocky road to that, but I love seeing the friendship that they had towards the end of the seasons. But I also feel like you can't talk about Harvey without talking about Donna. Donna and Harvey had this will they, won't they throughout the series. I really, really did like their friendship together and that type of relationship they had. Like, they were definitely more than friends, but I really enjoyed their relationship. There were definitely times when I didn't love their relationship. I think Harvey depended on Donna a lot, and I do think that that kept her as his secretary for a while without growth, so I felt bad for her in that sense. I also wish we had gotten to see Harvey and Donna as a couple a lot sooner. We definitely got some of them in the last season, but I just wish like maybe a couple seasons before. It didn't have to be like season 2, but I just wish a couple seasons before the final season we got to see more of them as an actual couple. Okay, the next person I'll be talking about is Donna. I really liked Donna. She definitely was one of my favorite characters. She was the best and everyone knew it. She was so good at her job. I do believe that Donna was actually some of the glue that was holding the firm together. I feel like she had a very special relationship with every single person there, and I feel like each relationship was different. It was never the same, but she had a special bond. She did her job well and she knew people. I did enjoy seeing her friendship with Rachel and even her friendship with Lewis as well. I liked the special bond and friendship they had. Donna helped everyone out when she could. I do think that she put too much of her life on hold for Harvey, and this definitely includes her personal life as well. I don't really remember too many of the guys she dated in the show, if she did at all. I believe there was one guy in the beginning, maybe one in the middle, and maybe one towards the end right before Harvey. But she didn't really have a big personal life, or we didn't really get to see it. Unlike Harvey, I feel like I remembered more of the women he was with than I remembered more of the men Donna was with. I was happy for Donna when she finally decided to kind of not be Harvey's secretary anymore and work for Lewis. I was sad at what this could cause to their relationship, but I was rooting for her because I definitely feel like they needed some space and she needed a change to grow. I would have loved to see Donna have like a longer lasting relationship with someone else before Harvey. And as I mentioned before with her previous relationships in the show, to me they weren't that memorable, and I think they only lasted a couple episodes. So I wish there was someone that lasted a little bit longer than that, was like a true relationship. There was a guy near the last season right before Harvey where she had really good chemistry with, in my opinion, so I would have loved to see that relationship develop more into something more serious before she ended up with Harvey. Of course, her and Harvey were endgame. They were supposed to end up together. I just wish there was more of a personal life in her relationships. I also love that Donna strived to be more than a secretary towards the end. It definitely made sense, and I love that journey for her to get to where she ended up being, because Donna really deserved it. As I said before, she felt like the glue, and she was really important to this company, so I definitely think she deserved being more than a secretary there. Next person I'll be talking about is Gretchen. Gretchen was the secretary that took over for Donna when she left to go work for Lewis, and I think she was a great addition to the show. Harvey was hesitant when he saw her, and she had to prove to him that she actually knew what she was doing, because he was so used to Donna. He had worked with her for years and years and years, and Donna is great at her job, but so is Gretchen. Eventually, Gretchen went to work for Lewis, and Donna came back for Harvey, and I really liked seeing Gretchen and Lewis interact. Their relationship was really cool too. It was so funny. And in the show, there weren't really a lot of maternal figures there, and I think Gretchen was a great addition to the show, and she was a friendly person to go to, but would also be that, I guess, kind of like mom or auntie that you could go to as well, and she could kind of give you her advice and talk to you if you needed her. Again, she's another character I wish they had on the show sooner, but when she did come on the show, she definitely made an impact, and I'm glad that we had her. Okay, the next person I will talk about is Lewis. I actually did like Lewis's character. He had his faults, but overall, I liked him as a character. I feel like in the very beginning, Lewis was meant to be the villain. And I'm not sure how long they wanted him portrayed as that villain, but soon after the first couple episodes, I didn't really see him as a villain anymore. Sometimes I did see Harvey as the villain, unfortunately, because he just seemed like a bully. A lot of the times when Harvey succeeded, it just seemed like he would put Lewis down or made Lewis feel even less, because Lewis really did strive to be where Harvey was. I do admit Lewis didn't really help himself a lot at all. He made some choices throughout the show where I can definitely understand why Harvey and Jessica didn't really trust him. I do think both Harvey and Lewis can be quick to anger, but in Lewis's case, I think he just gets more emotional overall, and that does get him into some trouble throughout the seasons as well. But I think the reason I didn't really see Lewis as a villain is because I think I was able to empathize with him more, and for that reason I just didn't always see him as the bad guy. I was just mostly disappointed in decisions he was making. I feel like when they took a step forward, either with him and Jessica or with him and Harvey, something happened, or he would make a decision that would bring him 3 steps back. And I was like, Lewis, why did you do that? You were just doing so well. Like, I know you're frustrated, but like, why would you make that decision? So eventually when Lewis and Harvey did have their friendship, I was so happy to see that. They might not have always liked each other, but they both really had a mutual love for the job they had and where they were working, and they really both would have done anything to protect and save the firm. One thing I did like about Lewis's storyline is his relationship with Sheila. I'm so glad they ended up together. There were definitely some rocky patches within their relationship. I remember when I first saw him and Sheila, it was definitely an interesting relationship, but those two characters together had chemistry, and I wanted them to end up together. So when they weren't, and how that ended, I was really sad. Like, I understand why they broke it off, but I was just really sad to see them not together anymore, because I really liked their characters. But in the end, we did get them together, and they had their happily ever after, which I'm so happy for Lewis. And the next person I will talk about is Jessica. And let me just tell you, Jessica was my favorite character of the show. She had her name on that wall, and she earned it. Her character, when she walked into a room, she commanded it. I absolutely loved when she would put people in their places. And one of those people she had to put in their place was Mike, because Mike tried her a couple times, and I was really looking at him when he was talking to her. I was like, this man really over here working on this woman's last nerve. It was the boldness he had to go up to her, but I was like, I can't believe he's talking to her like that. But she always came back and made sure he knew who was in charge, because this man over here that don't even have a law degree had the nerve to come and talk to Jessica, who was named partner of the firm. No. But anyway, she took care of it. But every time she was on screen, I absolutely loved seeing her, because I was like, you better watch out for Jessica. She does not play, and she always looked good on screen as well. Whoever her stylist was, A+. She looked good. I was looking at her outfits. I was like, okay, Jessica. Like, she makes sure no matter where she is or who she's talking to, that she looks professional, she looks good, she's intelligent, she knows what she's talking about, and she makes sure they know who they're talking to. I just really love seeing a powerful Black woman in charge and who was respected on TV. It was so good. I'm so glad she was kind of the boss of this firm. She was the perfect character and the perfect person to play this part. I really was so sad. I hated seeing her lead the show. She did end up having a spin-off series. Unfortunately, I believe it was only for one season. Let me just tell you, if that was on now, I would have gone to it immediately because she honestly was one of my favorite characters. But I love Jessica. I really did enjoy her relationships with Harvey. Even though her and Lewis didn't have the best relationship, she was a mentor to him too. And a lot of people at the firm and in the show did look up to her because of how good she was at her job. Okay, so these characters were the ones that I absolutely loved seeing, and I loved how they all interacted together. Again, these are just some characters, but I tried to include most of the main cast and maybe a couple of people that weren't. I think one reason that I love this show and why the show is so good is because of this group of people. They are so diverse in this group of characters, and they bring a lot of different things to this show. Just with all the different personalities, it made the show so entertaining and so good to watch. I would rate the show in its entirety 4 stars. I just really enjoyed watching it. It was a total of 9 seasons, and it was the perfect show to binge watch. I just had a good old time watching it, and I definitely would give this a rewatch as well. It was just that good. So if you have seen Suits and you liked it, I do have some other shows for you to check out. So here are some recommendations. So if you kind of like the structure of Suits, you might want to check out some other USA Network shows that came out around this time. Suits, like some other shows around this time, were a part of something called the Blue Sky era. And so other shows that were around this time that I would also suggest were Burn Notice and Royal Pains. They were both on USA Network. And so I would suggest maybe taking a look at those. Maybe you might like another USA Network show that kind of had a similar structure. So Burn Notice is about a spy who kind of gets burned, like I guess kind of fired from what he's doing, and he's trying to figure out who burned him. And then Royal Pains is about a doctor who worked at a great hospital but decides to work in the Hamptons as a concierge doctor. So if you're interested in either one of those, check them out. So if you liked how Mike and Harvey kind of like were keeping a secret and how their brotherly relationship, I would actually suggest Psych. So Psych is about Sean, who is very intelligent, but he is very observant. So he pretends to be psychic, and he is a consultant for the police. And where the brotherly relationship comes in with his best friend Gus is in on this with him. So they both help out the police, and they both know that Sean is not really a psychic. My suggestion is for if you're looking for a lawyer show, I would suggest How to Get Away with Murder. I will let you know it is not comedy. It is definitely a bit darker than Suits, but if you're looking for a good lawyer show, this is definitely one you should check out. But if you are looking for something a little lighter but has a great ensemble cast with great chemistry, I have 2 shows to recommend you, and they are currently both airing now. One is High Potential and one is Will Trent. So High Potential is about a very intelligent woman who worked as a cleaning lady, but then she ends up becoming a consultant for the police after they realize how intelligent, and she kind of notices things other people don't. And then Will Trent is a crime scene show where Will Trent is also very intelligent. He kind of put things together that other people don't usually do. Both of them have great cast, and it's like a little bit comedy with crime, so there is a seriousness, but they mix the comedy very well. And seeing both of these casts interact in each of the shows really is good, and I feel like if you like Suits, then you might like these. Okay, so those would be the shows I would suggest you check out if you like Suits. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to check out my website for any more TV content because I have a lot more on there. Feel free to follow me on all my socials. It is ATS_MGO on all platforms. You can also like and comment and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. But I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, week, month, and hopefully a good rest of your year. And until next time, bye.